All right, Rahul, welcome to the podcast.
What's up, Omar?
Okay, so let's get started on talking about Julius.
Yeah.
You guys have an insane stat, and I think it was something like 300,000 users in 26 weeks.
Correct.
How does that even happen?
I think it's a lot of just like execution, taking shots at goal and building, like talking to users and just building.
What was like the first week? What were like the first couple of weeks looking like? Was Julius like? I think you guys went through a few pivots.
We went through a bunch of pivots. So for context, we were like a team of 4 people. All of us are hackers. We all like write code and just want to build our ideas and, play with AI, and play with these models. So we were, for a period of like 8 or 9 months, we were just building and launching different ideas. And our general idea was maybe, there's like a ton of data out there in databases and like different like public sites that people want to understand and query in an easy way. And these AI models are really good at, writing code that can do that. So let's go figure that out. So we basically launched 4 or 5 different things in a period of like 5 to 6 months. And we were towards the end of like that idea maze where we were like, maybe there's something here, maybe there's not. So towards that end, we saw ChatGPT come up with the code interpreter. And we were like, wow, like just the idea of having an AI in your pocket that can just freely write code and analyze data and stuff is amazing and has a lot of potential. So let's go hack something there. So we went and built Julius in like 2 weeks. And at this point, we were towards like the end of this idea maze. So we were like, okay, let's just make a ChatGPT plugin and see if we can get users from there.
And what was the plugin going to do?
The plugin would help anyone just upload a data set and have the AI look at it, analyze it, visualize it, give you insights, and then you can ask follow-up questions like, how many users do I have? Or like, here's this data I have about, squirrels in a public park. Can you help me visualize this? What are the patterns on how often these squirrels show up? Stuff like that. So we basically built that plugin, got it out there, and this was super early. Like we didn't have icons for our app, so we would just use emojis. Like we would use the numbers emoji for the logo.
If you have icons, you've launched too late.
We have launched too late, yes. So it was like 2 weeks or 2.5 weeks into like writing code that we launched. And I think the idea there was, let's first figure out if people even want this thing. And if they do, then we can build it out further.
And what were you looking for to like, what would determine whether or not people wanted it?
Whether they actually use it the way we intend it to work. Do they come back? And we saw early signs of that. So we put a paywall. So after 15 messages, you have to pay to continue using it. And some people paid us. We were like, wow, like for real? People want this thing. So we just, built it out more and just kept doing it. And it's been about 26 weeks. And then it eventually, like after a couple of weeks, it actually became Julius. Like it was called Chat with Data at first. We didn't even have a name. But yeah.
If you have a name, you've launched too late.
If you have a name, you have launched too late. If you have a domain name, you have launched too late.
Facts. One thing that's interesting is like, we hear a lot of the stories of people, they set out with an exact idea of what they were going to build.
Yeah.
And then they spend a bunch of time building it and then they launch it and they realize that no one wants it. Sometimes they pivot. Sometimes they ran out of money and the company just failed.
Yeah.
But you guys kind of did like the textbook right thing to do, which is build a really small version, ship it to a bunch of users, see what they think.
Yeah.
And then you turned on a paywall right away, which I feel like a lot of people don't actually do.
Yeah, totally. Well, so it wasn't really out of wisdom, to be honest. Like it is wisdom now, but it was like the first time we launched, it took us like 2 months to launch.
Okay.
And then the second time we launched, it took us a month to launch.
Okay.
And then by the time we realized, wait, actually it's better to just let the users tell us what they want. And then all the subsequent launches were just much quicker, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks max.
That's interesting. And then Am I allowed to ask how much the revenue that first came in, like at the very beginning, how much that was?
Well, at first it was like $60 for the first day.
Okay.
And it was, I believe, 2 or 3 people paying.
And where did you launch? Was this like Product Hunt, or were you just tweeting about it on your account?
So our first like 20,000 or so users mostly came from the plugin store.
How?
We basically gamed SEO on the plugin store.
Like the ChatGPT plugin store?
Correct. Yes. So we launched one plugin, and after that plugin got some users, we were like, okay, let's make this into a product.
Okay.
And we made Julius. And the way it would work is users would find a plugin to do something they want to do in ChatGPT. And then in order to use the plugin, they have to go to julius.ai and make an account and then like upload their data set there. And that's how they would discover Julius. And slowly they would figure out that I can do what I want to do much easier in Julius than use a plugin. So more and more users would just, upload stuff to the actual Julius app and start using it there. And that was like a funnel for us from the plugin store to Julius. And then soon we realized that more plugins equals more users. So there was a point where for certain keywords, if you search them on on ChatGPT, you would see like 5 plugins pop up, 5 different plugins, and all of them are us.
That's so funny.
So we were just like increasing the shots at goal. And I think later we found out that this is like a growth strategy where you want to find a growth mechanism and then scale it up until it stops working and then find something else.
How long did the ChatGPT arbitrage work before they figured it out?
Well, like a month or 2 months. And then they like,
But that was like how many users? That was like 20,000?
Yeah. They're like, all right, guys, no more plugins. You cannot make any more plugins. So,
but you owned the users by that point. It wasn't just like a plugin that disappeared once they like started.
Exactly. We owned the users. They had an account on Julius, and then we could re-engage them with like, hey, here's a new feature we launched that you can use in your workflow and do what you want to do in a much easier way.
So one thing I feel like a lot of startups struggle with is they figure out how to drive a bunch of people to the top of the funnel, whether that's Facebook ads or a tweet that goes viral or whatever. But then those users just kind of drop off and there's no way to re-engage them.
Yeah.
Some people send like change logs. One of the things we do at Ultra, which is our email app, is we send weekly change logs of the new things that we've shipped in the week. And that does pretty well for re-engagement.
Yeah.
What are some of the things you guys were doing that actually worked?
Well, we kept adding new features, and every time we would add a new feature, we would send them an email that, hey, this is now live in Julius. And I think that kind of sounds like changelog to me, where like this is the stuff we added, this is the stuff we fixed. We pretty much do that. Just keep users in the loop and let them know that you're building the things that they want to use, and users like that. So I think it's a very honest way of like communicating and re-engaging your users.
Interesting. One thing we've talked a lot about in the studio is like, it's like if a tree falls in the forest, but no one heard it, did it really fall? It's like the same analogy of like, a feature isn't fully built out until it's been shipped and tweeted about and talked about to the world so that people know it's been shipped.
Yeah.
But then how do you go from this initial burst, you have 20,000 users now. How do you go from that to 300,000 in like the remaining 20 or 15 weeks? Yeah.
Well, so a couple of different things, users tell other users when they like a product. So part of it was word of mouth. Part of it was just tweeting, sharing, spreading the word. One of the companies in FDOT, Zeet, is a company that helps us build Julius. We're a customer. So just, when they help us fix something, we like tweet about that, and they tweet about us. Like, hey, Julius runs on Zeet. I think one thing we realized is that in terms of getting users, we're always thinking about building product and then like doing a really good demonstration of the product. Like if you can build something people want and then like show it to them in a way that they really understand, that resonates really well.
Interesting.
So that includes like tweets, sending them emails about all the features we're building, getting people who are like high influence in the space to like talk about the product.
How did you get your friends? Like, I'm guessing a lot of them are just your friends, right? People who have influence in the space.
Yeah.
What was the ask for you to be able to ask them to tweet about it in a way that doesn't sound just like very transactional?
Yeah. Well, so in the beginning, it was the thing about doing like your fifth or sixth pivot is people have helped you out in the past and it doesn't work out. So by the like fifth or sixth time, it kind of feels weird to like ask.
Yeah.
But I don't think you should feel weird. Like I think it's okay to ask people to like help you out. So just, sending people regular updates about, hey, like this is something we've built and this is something people really like. It would be awesome if you could try it out. And that I think works pretty well. It's just like you demonstrate the product to them as opposed to like, hey, here's an ask for you. Like, can you post about us? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. I was talking to Sejal a couple of days ago. He, I guess for the audience context, he's like 20 years old. He works with Naval building AirChat.
Yeah.
And we were having this conversation about like, how can you set yourself up in a way to where people want to help you and it doesn't feel like transactional.
Yeah.
So his strategy is he just sends like context on his life to all of the people that he considers like mentors or people that, have helped him out in the past. Sometimes they don't reply to his texts, right? Like sometimes they're just busy.
Yeah.
But he just continues to send them like context on his life, updates on his life, and occasionally asking for advice because he knows that when the time is right or when they have something to say, they will reply to that message and whatever other messages in the past that he had sent. And so that manifests in like when he had his video of like the O1 visa, like he made a video.
Yeah.
Here's how to get an O1 visa as a founder, which like ranked #1 for the term O1 visa or something on YouTube.
That's crazy.
Everyone for like 2 days was just retweeting it or like quote tweeting it. Like every time I opened Twitter, my entire feed was just Sejal talking about how to get an O1 visa. And I asked him about it when we were talking about it because I was like, how did you make that happen? And obviously part of it was just a video that people wanted to share because it was helpful. But also a big part of it was people had seen, including me, had seen him go through his like content journey for the last 2 years of like recording everything in his life, but not wanting to put it out.
Yeah.
Such that when he finally put it out, everyone wanted to see him win.
Yeah.
And there's also like a flip side to that is Arab. I think he was like 19 at the time. He made this video that went super viral where he got a Nerosity headset, which is like a crown that you put on your head and you can like, there's an API that you can use to control other objects. He connected it to someone's Tesla and he basically controlled the motion of the Tesla by like doing math in his head. And he made a video where he went downstairs with all the guys at F-Inc. and he demoed himself controlling the Tesla with his brain. And right after that video went out, he was making the rounds. Every single person downstairs, he was going up to them and asking like, hey, can you please retweet this? And so in the first like 30 minutes of the tweet being out, there were like 30 retweets on it. And some of the guys that I think have a good amount of followers, like 10 or 20K followers. And that video went super viral. Business Insider picked it up. So it had like 100,000 or how many ever 1,000 views it had. And that was all just because he he manufactured virality from day one by just asking all of his friends to kind of retweet it.
That's awesome. I think I've seen that video.
Yeah.
It was downstairs, right?
Yeah, it was.
That's crazy.
Dude, for a while, so many people would come up, would ask me when they came up, like, hey, I saw this video of like a Tesla.
Yeah. Like
Business Insider picked it up and they were like, oh, because Grimes had come to our office.
Yeah.
And she got like a Nerosity and they were like, here's a video of this kid controlling a Tesla with his brain. And it was interesting to see how because we know it was manufactured. Like we know that it was intentional.
Yeah.
And now it's like, I think a lot about how to replicate that with the companies that we're building now.
That's fire.
When you guys were in this moment of like trying to figure out what features to build next, how would you decide like what was like the next step?
So we've always had a few different competing ideas of like what the users want. And we've realized that you can do two things. One is you can do a ton of research, collect a ton of data, and put in a lot of like philosophical upfront work and like what should the product be and like what should the users want and like what should the users use Julius for? Or just pick one of them, build it out as minimally as you can, and then just launch it and then see if people use it. And if not, then try the option 2 and try option 3. And low key, that's the second strategy is just worked way better than the first strategy. So initially, I'll give you an example. When we first launched Julius, you could do two things. One is you could connect a database to Julius, or you could bring a spreadsheet or a CSV file, an Excel file, and dump it in Julius and have the AI analyze it. And we first thought that, database is going to be this thing because everyone has a database.
Right.
When we launched, it was pretty clear within the first week that most people just have a spreadsheet. Like everyone has a spreadsheet. The finances, some SaaS software, their data set for data sciencey stuff. If you're a researcher or academic, and those users are just way more than like the database users. So all the like philosophical work we did before that, we just threw that out. We just said, okay, let's just see what the users want. So we went and just looked at how can we help the users get what they want in the fewest steps possible. And if we can do that, then we can deliver them magic of like having this AI write, Python code to analyze their data set. Many of our users don't even know what Python is, but just looking at the AI being like a code monkey for them, writing these scripts to look at data and like unpacking it and then creating a visualization and creating a chart. They're like, wow, this is awesome. And they want to keep coming back and they want to, get that value again and again. So that was something that we kind of discovered just from shipping, just getting stuff out there in front of users. Even today, when we ship a lot of features, not every feature is a hit, but it doesn't matter because for every like 3 features or 4 features we ship that are not a hit, there's one feature that is a hit, and then users just absolutely love it. And sometimes they're like really dumb ideas too. So Matt is one of the guys I work with. He had this idea that sometimes people don't know what to ask AI. They just want the AI to figure it out for them because for many users, the AI is the expert and they are just looking for an expert opinion. So he threw a button in there that just says, keep going. And it's literally like a UI button. When you hit it, it just literally sends a message to the AI that says, keep going. And we threw that button in and it's so popular. It took like a few minutes to throw that in there. And it's so popular because users, they come to Julius, they throw their files in there and they just ask the AI, like, keep going, like, keep doing your thing. Like, once you're done, let me know what are the insights and what are the visualizations in the data. And it sounds super simple, but it's one of the most popular like features on Julius.
That's the thing with content, right? You're always one like piece of content away from going viral. You're always one piece of like one change away from having your thing work. And it's always the dumbest thing. It's always the TikTok that you spent the least amount of effort on.
Yeah.
Or like the clip that I post online and I leave like a typo in the caption and that ends up with like 30,000 views or whatever it is.
Kind of like walking out of an office with a box in your hand, right?
Literally. I mean, that's a good segue to talk about. I mean, the first time I found you, you went like mega viral.
Yeah.
Around the time that Elon Musk had just come into Twitter and done the layoffs. You stood outside with a box, and I guess do you want to tell the story?
Yeah. Well, October 2022, I was low key viral on the news.
There was nothing low key about that.
For convincing a few reporters that I was a laid off Twitter employee with one of my friends. And then, Elon posted about it and then we got to go meet Elon, hang out with him for a little bit.
How does that even, why?
Why do that?
Why? Yeah.
All right. So I've never like shared the story publicly. This is the first time I shared the story publicly because I've just been busy with the product and just getting users and stuff. But, basically, I live a few blocks from the Twitter office and my gym is in the Twitter building. So every morning, 8:30 a.m., I walk to the gym, I work out, and I shower, I go to the office. That morning, there just happened to be a ton of cameras outside, a bunch of reporters. So I have this like Snapchat of me in the gym saying, bro, there's like hella reporters outside. Like, that's crazy. It would be crazy if I walk out with the box. So I text my roommate first. He's this guy on Twitter, Rune.
Your roommate is Rune?
Rune, was that?
Your roommate is Rune?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
He's my roommate. But I text him, I'm like, yo, bro, pull up. Like, bring a box. Like, we should do this. And he is like, I'm sleepy, man. I can't right now. Like, it's 9 a.m. What are you doing right now? So I text our other friend, Daniel, and he pulls up and he brings 2 boxes, actually. He brings one for me and one for himself. And then he also like puts some books in there. just some random books. So literally there's like no planning. We just walk out. And the idea was, some of our friends would see it and it would be funny.
Yeah.
There was no like intention of going viral, or it was just the point was to have fun. I think people sometimes take things super seriously. Everything has to have a strong intent and you need to have a big vision behind everything. I don't think so. I think the point of life is to just have fun and build cool shit and just, be with people you like
100%
being with. So just me and my friend, we were just walking out of the building. We just, first thing, the reporter asks us is, wait, did he just get laid off? What happened? And we say, yeah, we got laid off. Like, it's crazy out there. They just came into the room. They said, and it's so dumb too, because I was literally in my gym clothes, and with the box in my hand. And then I looked down into the box and I see a Michelle Obama book. So I just pull it out and I said, Michelle Obama, this wouldn't have happened if Michelle Obama was still in the White House. And they love that. They love that. So, yeah. And then I walk home and they kind of like follow me for 4 blocks.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, I live like 5 blocks away. So I'm glad
almost
they
went
like
home.
almost made it home. And then I check my phone finally and I realize it's popping off. I'm like low-key worried for a little bit because I don't know what's going to happen. Like, am I going to get doxxed? I don't know how people are going to perceive this. Because the point was to just have fun. Like, I thought, 5 of my friends would see this and they'll think it's funny.
Yeah.
The intention was never to like go mega viral.
Yeah.
It was low-key scary for like 2 hours. And then Elon posted about it. He's like, you fired them. And then everything was chill, after that.
Wait, so what did Elon post?
He said something like they had it coming or something.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
So he knew.
He didn't. He knew.
Well, because they said your name was Rahul Ligma.
Yeah.
In the thing.
Yeah.
And then how did you end up meeting up with him?
So here's another interesting story. So like when this happened, a lot of people who I knew or like, and they also knew Elon, through, startups. They reached out and they said, dude, this is awesome. Like, you're amazing. You're a legend. Elon, I know Elon would love this. And then I said, okay, then connect me to Elon. Like, I would love to meet him. And they would just not do it. Like, they were just kind of low-key gatekeeping it. So no one connected us to Elon. And then one day, we just, like 2 weeks in, after the thing, we just show up to the Twitter office and we say to the front desk, we were like, yo, can we talk to Elon? We are these guys who did this. They're like, okay, like, let's see what we can do. And they made us like sit for 20 minutes. And like 20 minutes later, this guy came downstairs and he's like, hey, I'm Jacob or whatever. And I work on Elon's team. And
it only took 20 minutes?
Yeah, 20 minutes. And then he took us upstairs and he made us wait for another like hour.
Okay.
Got us like some drinks or whatever, like office, sparkling water. LaCroix.
Welcome to SF.
Yeah.
No still water, just sparkling.
No still water, just sparkling.
I got LaCroix and Topo Chico.
Yo, low-key, sparkling water makes you a little burpy, so I don't want to drink that because I don't want to be like burping.
Like, this is alpha. This is alpha.
Yeah. But we hang out for a little bit and then, Elon comes out and he's super chill. He's got like this corner of the office where he was like running the show, super hands-on. He's talking about, dude, like 5 minutes in, he starts telling us about the code base. Like, like how many lines of Scala we have, like that's crazy. And we talked to him about that. And he showed us around. And yeah, that's the story.
Casually got a tour of Twitter from Elon Musk.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Did that help your startup at all? Were you working on Julius at this point?
Julius was still 8 months out. So
okay.
I was working on a different idea, and then we went through like 4 or 5 different ideas.
Same team?
Almost, yes.
More or less, okay.
More or less.
Interesting. Did that help at all?
Did that help at all? It definitely helped getting followers on Twitter.
And then that leads to eventually conversions if you're building in the startup space.
Yeah. And then also like, meeting people. But the intention behind it was never to like get, you know, get famous or whatever. It was just to have fun.
Do you plan on pulling any more pranks?
If I do, they probably won't be planned.
Okay.
It would just be like in the moment, you know.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's dope. Right now, it's a 4-person team, you said?
Yeah.
And this is more or less the same people that you've been working with for the last like year or two.
Exactly.
Are you all engineers?
More or less. Me, 2 engineers, and then 1 biz ops, but he also like helps out with code. Like if there's some issue with analytics, he was not afraid to like dive into it. Last night we were looking at dark mode. Turns out a lot of users want dark mode. Like, okay, like let's get that in.
Yeah.
And
that's how you know you made it. Once your app is at a point where you need dark mode, you're good. That's PMF.
No, I know, dude. Because for the longest time, I'm not a dark mode user, low key. Like the only place I use a dark mode in is IDE.
Really?
Yeah.
So like if I go on your Twitter, it's white.
Twitter is set with the daytime.
So right now it's daytime. If I go on your, oh my god, that's horrible. Yo, you weird,
dude,
bro.
Nah, bro. I think it's light mode is more. I don't know. I like the vibe of light mode in the daytime, but IDE, I terminal all that dark mode.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Interesting. And so now you guys are working on dark mode, and this guy was helping, I'm guessing, with the code.
Well, we're not work. He just threw that in. Like he just
he added it.
Yeah. He went in and he like figured out. Okay, I gotta change the, colors here. I gotta like change this config here. And then last night at Slack at 11, we were just like talking about getting that out, and he just did it. Like he just did it. Like I didn't do it. Yeah.
I mean, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How do you guys decide who does what? How do you like split responsibilities around the team? Because you're already at a point where you need marketing, you need design, you need, like you have revenue. So you also need someone on finances. Like how do you decide who works on what?
Yeah. So we have 2 engineers. They mostly do code.
Right.
Mostly code. Support, customer support. We do it amongst all of us do support. We just got an intern a couple of weeks ago, and he's been doing support too. And he's an engineer. Like he's out in Canada, and he built out the last feature we launched. And he's been doing support actively too. I think doing support is a good way to understand where the users are facing issues and like where the pain points are. Oftentimes what we do is, since all of us are online at some point in time, if there is an issue with the user and we can't figure it out, we just drop them a Zoom link in the like support chat, and they hop on, and then this turns into like a user chat where you can ask them follow-up questions like, what other AI products do you use? What do you like about Julius? What could you change about Julius? And just observing how they use Julius is super helpful. And so me and 2 engineers, we do most of the code. I think all founders should also do marketing. Like marketing is really important. Building a product is not enough. Like you gotta be able to demonstrate how it works. You gotta be able to resonate with users. You gotta be able to get it in front of a ton of users. So, any founder who just wants to write code and not do any marketing, I think they're not going to get a ton of users.
It's called best-selling author, not best writing.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I've overused it now.
Dude, okay. I know. That's a good way to put it. Wait, did you just come up with that, or?
I've been saying it for so long, I don't remember if I came up with it. I'm going to pretend like I came up with it. I probably did.
Yeah.
Probably didn't. It's okay.
Low-key, you got to take credit sometimes.
I'm always taking credit for that.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. I think, have you raised?
Yeah, we have raised from angels and small funds and we recently went through AI grant, which is run by Nat Friedman and Daniel Gross. And that's been super helpful.
How?
So, just meeting high quality AI founders in this space is very helpful. Like, I think AI native products are pretty interesting in the sense that they're, like bringing together different paradigms. Like you have users who come to you and they don't want to click stuff in the UI. They just want to talk to the AI.
Right.
And they just want the AI to do stuff for them. There's a lot of these like useful insights that you can gather from just talking to AI founders and understanding what they're going through, how they're getting users, how they're retaining users. And that's been super helpful. Nat and Daniel, they're, of course, helpful in like making intros. Nat, I reached out to him yesterday to see if he could connect me to someone at Wolfram, and he just like within hours figured out the intro. So that's been helpful.
One thing I noticed when I was looking at your bio is you have Julius.ai/iPhone.
Yeah.
And it links to like the mobile app.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the AI startups that we see in the space, most of them have not made it to the app store yet.
Yeah.
They barely have their like mobile render of their website down.
Yeah.
Why did you guys go so early into mobile?
What we realized pretty early on was that people are using us not just for data, but for math, for science. Just the idea of having a code monkey in your pocket that can write Python scripts for you and solve math, do chemistry, do physics, analyze data, all these different things is really powerful. But there's a ton of users on the App Store that don't have access to this. They have to open their computer, go to Julius.ai and use it there. A lot of friction. So, especially with like younger audiences, today most of the users of Julius, or at least up until December, which is a month ago, most of the users were knowledge workers. And then after December, we are seeing a lot more younger like students and like researchers, those kind of people come to Julius and use us. And those users are actively on mobile. So
how do you reach that user demographic of like kind of students or people that might not live on Twitter or have any overlap with like the builder, like San Francisco scientist kind of demographic?
Yeah, well, we are still figuring that out. But one of the things we did was there's this like there's like this TikTok influencer guy named Akhtar. He does this like, these videos about different countries, and talks about like Singapore, number one country in the world with like a thick Indian accent.
Fire.
And he gets like hundreds of thousands of views. And a lot of the viewers are like young people. So I reached out to him on WhatsApp. I was like, yo, would you make a video on Julius? Because he just does videos about different countries. And he's like, yeah, I'll do it for $100. It's a lot of money in India, right?
Arbitrage is insane.
Dude, I know. So he gave $100. He made a video, got like 20,000 likes on Reels or TikTok.
Yeah. Were you able to track conversions?
We did get some downloads, yeah.
Nice.
But one thing about App Store is something I've realized is it's hard until you get 100 stars. Like the more stars you have,
really,
the easier it has become to get users. The reason for that is when you go to a website, you don't know. It could be like a professional looking website, and you would think it's legit.
Yeah.
But if you have an app that has just like 5 reviews, sometimes it's hard to convince people that, hey, you want to trust this.
That's true. Yeah.
And I personally wouldn't trust an app with 5 stars.
True.
Five reviews.
Right.
So, but as we're getting more reviews and ratings, it's getting easier to get users.
Are you asking people to like rate you? How are you like reaching that 100?
Yeah. So users use us. So one of the things we do in Julius is the way you can rate an Uber driver on Uber, you can rate a restaurant on Yelp, you can rate the AI. And that helps us improve the product a lot because every time a user rates the AI 1 star,
yeah,
we ask the user after a few messages, hey, how's the AI doing right now? And the user rates the AI 1 star, it sends a ping on our Slack. Like, hey, this user just rated 1 star to this AI, this response. And then we like look through server logs, figure out what went wrong. Why is this like a 1-star experience? But if the user rates 5 stars and if they're mobile, we show a pop-up like, hey, you rate our app, get us more ratings. So it works both ways.
Interesting. Do you have like a big feedback list somewhere in Notion or something?
Yeah, we have like a long Google Doc.
Backlog. Oh, yeah. It's a Google Doc.
Yeah, I'm old school like that, low key. But Zach on my team, he loves Notion. So for a one-on-one with him, he uses the Notion.
And you use a Google Doc?
I use Google Doc.
Efficiency.
Yeah.
Have you seen everyone that's starting to say SaaS is going to go to zero because it's just too much like spend, too much burn, too many different apps?
Yeah, I've seen people say that. I think it might be true, but I also think that there's something about experience, like just real good user experience. Like I can see why people like Notion. Like I totally get it.
Yeah.
I'm just not a user for it, but I totally get why people like Notion.
But to go back to my initial question, so you have this big list of like this big list in a Google Doc of like all the feedback, whatever.
Yeah.
Are you able to use Julius to like decide what to go in, like what's recurring, what are like common, like problems?
Yeah, absolutely. You can export. So we collect the star data, star rating, and like where is the user using Julius for? Why did it rank low?
Yeah.
And we actually use some classifiers to identify, okay, this chat was rated 1 star for this reason. And we're collecting that data, and the goal is to, train smaller models that are better at reducing those bad experiences, just focused on like not letting that thing happen. It's going to be really important. And yes, we use Julius to collect and analyze the data.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how we're building our products in the studio and how we use Julius right now. And then you can tell me how we can be using it better.
Absolutely.
So we'll start off with the first one. There's this consumer social app that we're building. The target demographic is like 18 to like 35-year-olds. And without saying too much, it's like there's like a sharing feature. Everything is you perform an action in the app and you share it with like the person that you created the action for. And so what we do is we use Post Hog to track everything from like, like their Facebook clicks, like their age, because we ask for their birthday when they sign up.
Yeah.
We can use, so some of the times we can gauge what their name is based on their email, although we recently switched to phone number auth. So now we can also gauge where they're based, like locality wise. And so what we do is we export all of our people data and we see of all the people who converted, who went to the end of the funnel, show me what age they are. So we know, who to double down on. We see where they're based. So we see which locations and which regions we need to double our spend on Facebook or Google clicks for. And then we also have the created at time. So we can see where, like what times of day the ads are best performing. Mm-hmm. So we can double down on those. What else would you use it for?
So Postdoc should let you like export that data as a CSV.
Right. And we plug that into Julius.
Sick. Awesome. You could plug it into Julius. You could, one thing I would recommend you do is use Julius for intent classification. So if you have other data such as like, where is this user profile? And then where did they use the product for? If you have those two things, you can dump that all in a spreadsheet and have Julius kind of go through, do a classification of like, when users use a product for this use case, the use case is just like off the roof. Like it's awesome. And when they use it for something else, they use it once, but they don't really come back. I think that could be a useful thing in Julius.
Interesting. I see that being actually really useful in our other product as well, which is Ultra, which AI email client. I think Ibrahim Ahmed on Twitter has tweeted. I've seen you guys go back and forth on Twitter a lot.
Nah, he's fired, dude. He's what's funny is he was trying to use ChatGPT to do something with his data set, and it failed. And he tweeted on Twitter saying, "Oh man, this doesn't work. I wish an AI could do this for me." And then someone replied to the tweet saying, "Hey, you should use Julius."
I didn't know that.
And then he posted a new screenshot showing like side by side how Julius was able to do what he wanted to do and ChatGPT couldn't. So that was, those kind of wins make us really happy. And oftentimes they come from just like improving the core functionality.
Yeah.
And like building new features.
I have a question around like competition, but before that, to kind of give you the Ultra use case.
Yeah.
There are 3 main features around Ultra. One of them is we have a really good AI filter, so you never have to see like the LinkedIn cold outreach spam.
Dude,
we have a ChatGPT like assistant, so you can talk to your emails. You can ask it like, show me all the Zillow prices in the last like year of the houses I'm watching, and show me like the percentage change over time. You can, and also like show me an email with Rahul from 6 months ago when we first met, whatever. There is an AI generated to-do list in like the left column, so that if there are things that you need to act on in an email that you miss, it'll put it all into its to-do list. There are some other features, like the whole thing is like a dashboard. The way I think of it, it's like what Stripe did to Google Sheets, we're
Yeah.
doing to your inbox. It's like there's also like a calendar similar to how Cron used to have it in the top like bar where you can just like tap and see everything you have to do for the day.
Yeah.
So now that you have all that like context around the app, what are some of the things you would do with everything's tracked in Post Hog, all the actions, everything. What would you set up to see how we can get more out of each user?
In Julius?
In Julius, yeah. So I export a CSV from Post Hog of everyone's actions, how they're using the app. Yeah. How can I use Julius to like improve the user like targeting or who we're reaching out to or how they're using the app or whatever?
Yeah, totally. So what I would do is so you have these actions by user, and I assume those actions have timestamps with them.
Right.
So one thing you want to look at is what kind of actions are performed by users or power users, and what is like the distribution of those actions. So if you're an expert in data analysis, you can really specifically prompt Julius and say, hey, can you do clustering analysis for me? And some users do that, but majority of Julius users aren't experts. We're like builders, we are marketers, we are like engineers. We are good at something else, but data analysis. So Julius helps you take your just honest, plain English prompts. You can say, hey, I have this data of my users who have, actions, have done actions over time. And I want to understand what makes a user a power user? What kind of actions do the users who use us a lot?
Like, where's the aha moment?
And then the AI will just help you unpack it. And it may not always work. But the thing about Julius is that it can correct its own mistakes. So oftentimes it will write code, run it, and that code has sometimes makes mistakes, right?
Sure.
The good thing about code is you can prevent hallucinations by just running the code. And if there is an error, it can try to fix its own errors. So you can ask follow-up questions like, oh, so it seems like these actions are more popular. Can we like drill deeper into those? Stuff like that.
Interesting. Are you worried at all about competition?
Not really.
Why not?
I think people think too much about competition as a excuse to like not do something. So an example of this is, ChatGPT. There's so many AI people out there that would never get started because what if OpenAI does it? Or like, what if ChatGPT does it? And in all honesty, they should. But like they should give it a shot. If it's a good idea, if your idea is good, everyone's gonna give it a try, right? But that's not a reason to like not get started. Like ultimately, there's so much work in execution to like actually making something happen. Like getting first users, talking to the users, understanding where their pain points are, figuring out how to get more of such users. All that work is super, super useful and super important. But people just like as a like a low agency thing, they just never get started.
Yeah.
So I don't think competition is a reason to like is a thing to worry about, especially if you're an early stage founder. Just build stuff, man. Like just build stuff, get it out there, see if people use it, and if they like you, they'll pay you. If they don't like you, go back to the whiteboard and figure out what do they want, what do these users want, or what would somebody want, and just keep going through that loop.
Do you think you had an advantage though? Because I see a lot of like successful founders had some like, unique insight that they had when they were younger because of the way they were brought up, or like, they had access to someone like a knowledge leader in the space, like a professor, or they just knew how to code and, something happened. Like a lot of people will build like generational wealth off of AI because they came in knowing UX and UI and coding. They started building like 8 months ago or a year ago. What were your advantages?
Yeah, totally. I think what matters the most is an individual's ability to like have that Napoleonic ability. Like you just make a small beachhead landing in something and just like go from there to like a moat.
Right.
And I'm basically like paraphrasing what Nat Friedman said once to me, which was, like a company like Midjourney, they started with an open source model when they first started. And so many people would never get started on building the next Midjourney because, well, Dolly's going to do it. Well, Stable Diffusion is gonna do it. But you know what? It's who knows. Like you just gotta talk to users, iterate, have the Napoleonic ability to like outwork everyone. If you put in the hours, I think, and if you're honest to yourself intellectually, like, hey, do users want this? Um, is this something that's helpful to people? I think the rest kind of works out.
I'm going to ask you the question that I generally ask now to kind of wrap things up. And that is, if we were to do this podcast in a year, what would you want to have accomplished by then to consider the past year a success?
1 million users. 1 million users and getting this super intelligence that can write code to do math, physics, data analysis, all this stuff into more people's